the interim, prints of the films were sent to our servicemen overseas, who did get to see this longer version. And when the release, Jack Warner wanted to hold back the release so that he could get a return on his investment. He figured once the war was over, or close to over, he had a better chance of big audiences coming through. So what happened was that they cut 13 minutes out of the movie, and they cut the negative. And for the last many decades, I had been constantly asking people, where is the other footage? Does it exist? And one person who had that responsibility of overseeing the inventory had a famous tagline: doesn't exist. I didn't have the ability myself to check that out. And for years and years, I hoped we could find it. And once we got started, Warner Brothers Preservation, in tandem with our beloved partners at the UCLA Cinema and Television Archive, who take care of a lot of our nitrate materials, we brought everything in, the camera negative from the Library of Congress, all the materials at the UCLA, and glory behold, one of the elements was a composite fine grain, that's a second generation film element, that was the long version. So, it then fell to the duties of my colleagues in Warner Brothers Mastering, and Anthony Bellotti, who is sitting there, oversaw this restoration project from a mastering point of view, and our colorist from Warner Brothers Motion Picture Imaging, Doug Drake, is here with us, and he did the color correction, and the film looks magnificent. Also need to call out my good buddy Craig Johnson, who's the head of our preservation department, who's on steroids getting everything he can from our library protected, and we've been working together for a long time, and this wouldn't have happened without him. And once we had the film all put together, we were able to add something else, and you're about to experience it. There is a star of this film that is not a member of the cast, and that is the Warner Brothers Studio Orchestra. And Ray Heindorf, does anybody here know who Ray Heindorf is?
Yeah.
Two-time Oscar winner for his arrangements on Yankee Doodle Dandy in 1942, and his genius work on The Music Man in 1962. Ray Heindorf is the heart and soul of the musical sound of musical motion pictures at Warner Brothers. And Mr. Heindorf created an overture that was over 10 minutes long, which you're about to hear. The screen will be black, and I urge you to listen to the overture as you hear it. This was only used for the New York and LA premieres of the film, and never heard again until I was able to find a disc that had the overture on it, and use it in a CD compilation of Gershwin material, and then we put it on our DVD 13 years ago. But in shameless self-promotion, I would like to let you know that this restoration of Rhapsody in Blue arrives on Blu-ray disc a month and a day from today, so that everybody will now see this film as intended. The most important thing you will see, and this is a good question, how many people here have seen the film Rhapsody in Blue previously? So most of you. The most important piece of the added material that we found is the full sequence dedicated to Gershwin's masterpiece, Porgy and Bess. And the original actress who played Bess on Broadway, Anne Brown, sings Summertime in a recreated situation. In the movie that we have been seeing for the last 80 years, you only got to hear 1 minute and 58 seconds. This is like 5 minutes, and that means a lot to me, because this is something that's etched in time, and thanks to the efforts of my colleagues, this is now preserved for future generations. I have to also explain the importance of Warner Brothers wanting to tell the story of George Gershwin's life. George Gershwin died of a brain tumor at the age of 38 in 1937. Now imagine what could have been in decades to follow had he lived. His brother Ira passed away in 1986, I believe, either 83 or 86, I can't remember. But what George Gershwin gave us still is a cog in the musical history of the Great American Song. And the other thing you will see in this movie tonight, it's out this morning, sorry, is an amalgam of several artists that created Gershwin performances for the first time, not billed in the credits. There's a gentleman named Tom Patricola who introduced the song Somebody Loves Me on Broadway in 1923. And he performs it in the film. He came out of retirement to do it.
Wow.
Paul Whiteman, the orchestra leader, commissioned George Gershwin to write Rhapsody in Blue for its premiere at the Aeolian Hall in 1924, appears in this movie. And if any of you know about Paul Whiteman, he was quite a large man, and he had lost a lot of weight by the time they made this movie, so they actually padded him. And some of the original members of Paul Whiteman's band are in this film. And then Gershwin's first big hit song, Swanee, is performed by the one and only Al Jolson, as only he could. Please applause for Al Jolson. And there's also George White, who produced the George White Scandals on Broadway in the 1920s. He portrays himself. And most importantly, Oscar Levant, who is George Gershwin's very best friend. He not only appears in the film as himself, but he also did all the piano solos of Rhapsody in Blue and Concerto in F. When you see Robert Alda as George Gershwin playing the piano, it is trick photography and Oscar Levant's hands. So I really think you're in for a treat seeing this movie as it is. And one more thing I want to mention, the underscore of the film was created by Max Steiner. I hope you've heard of him. Just as he interwove Civil War themes into his original music of Gone with the Wind, and as he interwove As Time Goes By, which he did not write, into the score of Casablanca, he created underscoring for this film all the way through that uses key Gershwin melodies. Robert Alda was a stage star who Warner Brothers was trying to give a big push as playing George Gershwin. I think he does a fine job. The film was directed by Irving Rapper, who had just completed a little movie called Now Voyager. And the studio entrusted him with this film. And Hollywood biographies of composers are, and then I wrote. And there are some grimacing screenwriting things you'll see in this movie, like, oh, that's so corny. But the main point Warner Brothers was trying to accomplish with the production of this film was to honor the memory of George Gershwin and his incredible contribution to American music. So with that, you're now going to hear the 10-minute and a few seconds long overture, and I would like to ask that you please listen to the magic of the Warner Brothers Orchestra as they perform, and then you get to see the whole film all put back together again, thanks to everybody at Warner Brothers Discovery, where we are dedicated to preserving the legacy of our studio.
I hope so.
Thank you.